Most men spend their lives chasing love under the illusion that if they just try hard enough, if they're charming enough, attentive enough, generous enough, they'll eventually win a woman's heart. But this pursuit is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of attraction. Love isn't something you convince someone to give you. It's something you inspire, by being the kind of man who doesn't need it to feel complete. The moment a woman senses that you're seeking her approval, something shifts. She can feel the subtle desperation in your compliments, the quiet anxiety behind your texts, the way your mood lifts or falls based on her reactions. This neediness, no matter how well disguised, is the fastest way to kill genuine attraction. Women don't fall for men who are trying to prove themselves, they fall for men who already know their worth. True confidence isn't loud or performative. It's not about bragging or flexing to impress her. It's the quiet assurance of a man who walks into a room without needing to be seen, who speaks without needing to be heard, who offers affection without needing it returned. It's the energy of someone who has already built a fulfilling life, and is inviting her to join it, not begging her to complete it. When you approach love from this place, everything changes. A woman doesn't want to feel like she's being sold on why you're worthy of her. She wants to discover that worth for herself, not because you're convincing her, but because you're embodying it. The difference is subtle but powerful. One is persuasion, the other is presence. One reeks of need, the other radiates strength. And that strength comes from a simple but profound truth. You've already chosen yourself. You're not waiting for her to validate you. You're not measuring your value by her interest. You're solid on your own. This doesn't mean you're cold or indifferent. You can like her, enjoy her company, even desire her, but you're not dependent on her feelings to feel whole. That's the magnetic pull. It's the unspoken message that says, I'm here because I want to be, not because I have to be. And ironically, that's exactly what makes her start to wonder about you, to imagine a future with you. Because when she sees that you're not seeking to be chosen, but are instead living as a man who's already chosen himself, she begins to see you as someone worth choosing to. The hardest lesson for most men to learn is that love isn't taken, it's given freely to those who don't demand it. The more you chase, the more it slips away. But when you stand firm in your own worth, love has a way of finding you, not because you've manipulated the outcome, but because you've become the kind of man who naturally attracts it. The human mind is wired to value what is scarce. This isn't manipulation, it's psychology. When something is always available, the brain unconsciously assigns it less worth. This applies to everything from luxury goods to relationships. If you're constantly available, always quick to reply, eager to please without reciprocity, you train her to take you for granted, not because she's cruel, but because human nature defaults to dismissing what requires no effort to obtain. This doesn't mean you should play games or deliberately withhold affection. Authenticity matters, but there's a critical difference between being present and being at someone's beck and call. A man with purpose isn't idle, he's immersed in his mission. His growth, his life, his time and energy are invested, not freely dispensed to anyone who hasn't earned them. When you operate from this mindset, your attention becomes valuable because it's not guaranteed. She learns that your presence is a choice, not an obligation. Consider how we treat rare artifacts versus everyday objects. A museum conserves priceless paintings behind glass, while we toss junk mail without a second thought. The difference isn't just in the objects themselves, it's in their perceived scarcity. You teach people how to value you by what you make readily available. If you're always texting first, always rearranging your schedule for her, always prioritizing her whims over your boundaries, you position yourself as common. Not because you are, but because you failed to demonstrate your rarity. The shift happens when you start treating your time and energy like the finite resources they are. You don't ignore her, but you don't linger on read receipts either. You're warm when present, but not anxiously waiting around when you're not. This creates space, and in that space, something powerful happens. Absence triggers the mind to reflect on what's missing. She begins to associate you with positive emotions that now feel just out of reach. The texts she once scrolled past suddenly hold weight. The plans she took for granted now carry anticipation. This isn't about punishment or manipulation. It's about respecting yourself enough to live a full life beyond any single person. Paradoxically, that's what makes others want to be part of it. When she sees you're not orbiting her world but instead cultivating your own, she's drawn to the gravity of that independence. She starts reaching out more, investing more, because she senses your attention isn't a given, it's a gift. And that's how scarcity, when rooted in self-respect rather than games, transforms how you're valued. The key is balance. Too much distance breeds indifference, too much availability breeds complacency. But when you strike that your presence feels meaningful precisely because it isn't constant. That's when real connection thrives. Not because you've tricked her into wanting you, but because you've shown up as someone genuinely worth wanting. The willingness to walk away is the ultimate test of a man's self-worth and the most powerful catalyst for genuine attraction. Most men stay in situations that diminish them because they operate from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not finding better, fear that leaving means failure. But a man who understands his value doesn't negotiate with disrespect. He recognizes that staying where he's tolerated rather than celebrated isn't loyalty, it's self-betrayal. Women don't fall for men who have no standards. They're drawn to men who uphold them unapologetically. When you tolerate lies, emotional games are being taken for granted, you're not being patient, you're teaching her how to treat you. Every time you swallow your pride to keep the peace, every time you make excuses for poor behavior, you're chipping away at her respect for you. But when she sees you'd rather walk away than compromise your peace, something shifts. She may protest in the moment, but subconsciously, her estimation of you rises. Because you've demonstrated something rare, the courage to choose yourself. This isn't about ultimatums or dramatic exits. It's about quiet, unshakable boundaries. The man who leaves, when crossed, isn't doing it to punish her, he's protecting what matters most, his self. And that kind of strength lingers in a woman's mind long after you're gone. While other men beg for scraps of attention, you showed her you're the prize. While others tolerate crumbs of affection, you proved you deserve the whole meal. That distinction makes you unforgettable. There's a paradox at work here. The less you fear loss, the more you're valued. When she senses your love isn't desperate, that you're fully capable of walking away if mistreated, she either rises to meet your standards or makes space for someone who will. Either outcome serves you. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural consequence of self-respect. People treat you how you allow them to treat you, and nothing communicates your worth more clearly than your willingness to walk when that worth isn't recognized. The deepest relationships aren't built on need, but on mutual choice. When both parties know the other is there by conscious decision, not fear or dependency, the connection transforms. She doesn't wonder if you're with her because you love her or because you're afraid to be alone. Your presence carries weight because it's voluntary, not obligatory. And that's the foundation of real attraction. Not what you'll endure to keep her, but what you won't endure because you keep yourself. Walking away isn't about giving up, it's about leveling up. Every time you refuse to settle, you reinforce your standards. Every time you choose yourself over dysfunction, you become more of the man worthy of the love you desire. And whether it's with her or someone better, that's how you win, not by clinging, but by having the strength to let go. Emotional independence is the bedrock of masculine allure, not the aloof, cold-hearted caricature, but the quiet strength of a man who owns his inner world. Most men make the fatal mistake of tethering their happiness to a woman's attention, as if her affection were oxygen and their survival depended on it. But true power lies in maintaining your emotional center, regardless of her moods or actions. When she pulls away, you don't crumble into neediness. When she's distant, you don't chase for reassurance. Your peace isn't held hostage by her behavior because you've built an unshakable foundation within yourself. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending not to care. It's about mastering them. The emotionally independent man feels deeply, but isn't ruled by those feelings. He can adore a woman while maintaining the sober understanding that his wholeness doesn't reside in her hands. That's what makes him magnetic. He's fully present, but never desperate. He doesn't bombard her with anxious texts when she's quiet. He doesn't fish for compliments or seek constant validation. His sense of worth is internally generated, which paradoxically makes her want to affirm it all the more. Women instinctively recognize this emotional sovereignty. They can sense when a man's stability depends on their approval, and it's a weight that suffocates attraction. But when she realizes your happiness isn't hers to regulate, that you're emotionally yet open, that's when real respect blossoms. She doesn't feel pressured to complete you, so she's free to choose you, not out of obligation, but genuine desire. Emotional independence doesn't push love away, it creates the only conditions where authentic love can thrive. The secret to making love last isn't holding tighter, it's learning to hold loosely. Most men suffocate relationships by obsessing over outcomes, measuring their worth by response times, and molding every interaction into a strategy to win her. But true connection flourishes only when you release the need to control it. This is the paradox of detachment. The less you need her love, the more freely it comes. Detachment isn't indifference, it's the quiet confidence of a man who knows his value isn't contingent on any single person's approval. When you stop dissecting her every text, when you cease rearranging your life to fit her whims, something remarkable happens. Your energy shifts from chasing to choosing. You become the oak tree that stands firm, not the water vane spinning with her every mood. This grounded presence is irresistible because it speaks louder than words. I'm complete with or without you. Women can smell desperation like rain before a storm. But when she senses you're not anxiously waiting for her to validate your existence, when she sees you living fully, regardless of her presence, that's when real attraction deepens. She doesn't feel like a prize you're trying to win, but a partner you're genuinely choosing. And in that space of freedom, love stops being something you extract and becomes something you both naturally cultivate. The man who masters this doesn't lose love, he becomes the kind of man love cannot leave. Because when you're rooted in your own wholeness, you don't find love, love finds you.